we'll just introduce us and then we'll be back on. All right, welcome to You Talk Sports. Tonight's featured game I'm very excited for. It is the Boston Celtics against the Portland Trailblazers. The Celtics are the hottest team, but they've been struggling. This is the game I expect to see them get their act back together against the Portland Trailblazers. This is also a big revenge game for some Portland Trailblazers players that the Celtics traded. And so also, if you haven't seen the Portland Trailblazer rookie, Scoot Henderson, he's a guy you got to see. He is a future all-star, and I'm excited to get to see him. I haven't actually seen one of his games. I've just been seeing the highlights. Want to see how he really plays. So in You Talk Sports, we are real fans getting together to watch the game. We're here every night. Sometimes we do the early game. Sometimes we do the late game. We're here for whatever the main game of the night is. This game is on NBA TV. We're going to have highlights throughout the game. We'll be cutting over to the actual broadcast to show some of the key moments. We're going to have fan takes on this throughout the game. We'll also be talking some fantasy football here. And one thing we're going to try out tonight is I'm going to leave the audio broadcast of the game up so we can essentially be listening to that. And then when the game goes to a commercial, we'll come back on and give our takes about what is happening in the game, as well as our takes on football topics. This game is getting ready to tip off. The NBA never starts on time. It's just a few minutes away. Let's see if there's any pregame takes on this. David, what do you expect to see happen tonight? And who do you like? I think it's what -10 or -9.5. What do you expect to see happen tonight, David?
Yeah, what I'm seeing is -12.5. Boston's not 100% coming into the night. No Drew Holiday, no unicorn. Brown's dealing with a tailbone. Derek White's dealing with a hand. You can never tell that with his dribbles. They're always terrible. Jason Tatum's dealing with ankles. So I think 12.5 is a lot, and so I would take the points. I am interested in seeing Scoot Henderson. He was the guy that after Wembanyama was supposed to be the big pick in the draft. I haven't heard great things about him so far his rookie season. He was the guy that I wanted the Rockets to potentially get in the draft. Had we not fallen down to number 5. So this would be my first time watching him. So I'm interested to see that. But as far as the point spread, I'm taking the points.
Yeah, you make some good points about the injuries there. I feel like that could make a huge difference. If Tatum and Brown are banged up, if
I think the Celtics will win. I just think 12.5 is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a home dog, anytime you get an NBA team at home, it's an East-West road trip. The Celtics have been on the road for a while now, too. So this could be one of those nights where Portland just kind of hangs around and makes it close. And then, Tatum or someone needs to hit a big shot at the end. Let's go around the horn here. Jeremiah, what do you expect to see happen tonight?
I expect, similar to David, I expect a Boston win, but Portland to cover. Boston's just looking to get the number 1 seed in the East sealed up. Portland's playing to get a draft pick and go on vacation. They're not going anywhere this year.
Yeah, I mean, Portland is in a full rebuild mode. If you're not familiar with Portland's lineup, let's hop over here and just take a look. So Portland is actually led by, is it Anthony Simmons, 23 points a game. Wow. And you'll remember DeAndre Ayton from the Phoenix team. Portland, of course, traded Dame Lillard, and Ayton was one of the big pieces they got back from that trade. So that's what Portland's lineup looks like these days. Let's take a look at the injury report here. On Boston, Holiday and Porzingis are out. We talked about that. Malcolm Brogdan, who was another part of that trade, is out for Portland. I was looking forward to seeing him in kind of a revenge role. Don't know too much about these other Portland players that are out or how that might impact this game. The spread does seem to be rising. When I looked at it this afternoon, it was as low as 9.5. Now it's up to 13.5. That says to me that people in Vegas are betting the Celtics to kill them. And now I think it's gotten to be so high that it makes sense for us to take the points. So let's go over to YouTube and just put in the YouTube chat there who you are taking for tonight. You saw me, even though I'm a Boston homer, taking the points as well. Nothing. Of course, I want to see Boston win the game, but I think that that Portland will be able to keep this closer. I'm curious to see Scoot Henderson, and let's kind of unpack the schedule here as far as what's been going on with this Portland team of recent. They lost to the Rockets recently. They lost to the Thunder, the T-Wolves. They did have a win against the Raptors. They swept the Grizzlies there, and they had this long losing streak here for a while. So they're just kind of coming out of this long losing streak here. Will, what do you make of the Celtics, Will?
I think Henderson's gonna play more. You saw two of their guards are out. But I'm trying to figure out like Portland, what do they really need? I feel like they have some ballers. And I'm interested to see what their major weaknesses are. I haven't watched them play, so I feel like their stats are okay, but they aren't winning games.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Anthony Simmons developing. I don't know that much about him. He's in his 5th year, scoring 23 points a game as a shooting guard. Because I thought that Henderson was a shooting guard, but maybe Henderson is playing more of the point with this lineup.
I don't even know if he's starting. I think he might be coming off the bench, but he'll be starting tonight.
Yeah, 13 points a game, almost 5 assists a game. I mean, those are decent numbers for a rookie. And let's see who else. Jeremy Grant is a good baller. He's had some good years over the past. Ayton. So they've got some pieces here. If they were to land a marquee free agent in the offseason, or draft somebody like a lottery pick style player, this could be a team that could turn around pretty quickly. I like Ayton, I like Grant, I like Simmons, and I like Henderson.
He's been getting a lot of Aiden's been getting the rebounds like crazy. He's been getting like 15 to 20 a few times the last few games.
Yeah, I think that was a big mistake by Phoenix, unless somebody has a take and can help me understand why that deal made sense for them. The Suns, when they brought in Bradley Beal, they needed a center and a rebounder to go up against Jokic and Giannis or Embiid in the playoffs. You got to have a center these days. So why did the Suns? They already had their big three with Beal, Booker, and Durant. It wasn't a salary issue. They had those guys on there, and then they just kind of gave Ayton away.
David's got something.
It was a locker room issue. He was too much of a cancer in that locker room. He would give up if he wasn't happy. There's all sorts of stories out there about how terrible of a teammate he was and how he didn't take care of himself. There was a lot. He in the conference semis when they lost to Dallas a few years back. Apparently, he and Monty Williams were having screaming matches at each other on the sidelines. So that's what contributed to him getting kicked out of there.
Wow. Okay, I never have heard that part of that story. I considered him kind of a key piece to the championship run. I think they re-signed him after the championship year. They gave him a lot of money, so that signaled to me they weren't that happy with him. But I hadn't looked into it that closely. So yeah, it makes sense if he's not a good fit. Chemistry in basketball, especially, is a big deal. It's too bad they need a center and a big guy. I think that's why they won't go anywhere in the playoffs. Without a big like that. And I always think with Eaton, like, oh, imagine if they'd have just took Luka, if it was Booker and Luka, could even be Booker, Luka, and KD, that would be like the dream team.
If I remember correctly, he was actually a restricted free agent, and he was actually going to sign with Indiana, but Phoenix opted to match and try to run it back with him, which in hindsight, I think was terrible for them, but I mean, they ended up getting a Beal, so we'll see how that goes in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix had just been to the finals, right? And then they re-signed it, and then Then they went into that Dallas series where Luka knocked him off before they got to the Western Conference Finals. That must be where things started falling apart for Eaton. Yeah. Well, we're also going to talk some football tonight, and we're still waiting on our game to tip off. I love getting insights from hometown fans that are here, and we have Lisa here from Kansas City. So while we're waiting for our game to tip off, I'd love to get some insights into what you think of Travis Kelce's performance this past year and what we can expect going into next year. Clearly, this was a down year for him. And why do you think that was? And is this kind of him trending down and saving himself for the playoffs? Is that how it's going to be this year? Or what do you think we can expect to see from Travis Kelce this year?
I don't think he was saving himself for the playoffs. He actually injured himself right before the first game. So that's why he didn't play in the Lions game in the opener, because he injured his knee. And he did come back and he started playing, and then he injured his ankle in another game soon after. So he was injured early on in the season, and a lot of people don't realize that. And he never really was able to heal because he played. So, and he also said in an interview that or maybe it was on his podcast, that sometimes it's really hard to get up for games that you know you're going to win, which is really funny because he was talking about some of those games and they didn't win them. So I think it was a little bit of him being injured and his age, because he didn't recover as easily, and just trying to motivate himself. So I think it was kind of a combination of the two. But then as soon as you saw, as soon as they hit the postseason, man, it was just like he flipped a switch.
Yeah, it really was. And usually that doesn't work out, but
yeah,
Kelce was able to do it. So was Mahomes. Yeah, if we look at Kelce's stats for last year, 172, which drops him out of being the number one tight end in fantasy if we're looking at the fantasy projections right now. But to me, like, he could easily go back up to these numbers if he's healthy. You telling me it was a health issue kind of reassures me that it wasn't an age issue. He is getting old, and so everyone starts to dwindle eventually. But I still like Kelce here. He's falling in the 4th round of fantasy drafts now. I don't get the people that are in love with McBride. If you look at McBride, everybody loves McBride. Well, what he did last year is his best year was not even as good as a bad year from Kelce. So why would you want McBride instead of Kelce? Mark Andrews, I think, also is so overrated for Baltimore. Yeah, he was good here, but the last 2 years he's gotten hurt and hasn't finished the season. Kincaid has had, everyone says he had a great rookie year. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns. That's not a great season. I like Kittle better than all these guys. Kittle is up and down, but he's a steady 170. To me, and Kittle's considered good at 170, and 170 was a bad year for Kelce. So I still like Kelce a lot as a fantasy tight end, not 1st or 2nd round, but if he's falling to you end of 3rd or 4th round, I strongly recommend him.
And that's another thing. Yeah, he's so consistent. And he didn't play the first game, and he also didn't play the last game because he sat, because we had already sewn up the 3rd seed. So you have to take that in consideration because of his numbers. I actually wanted him to go and play in that final game because he was 16 yards away from 1,000 yards. That would have been 8 1,000-yard seasons consecutively. Nobody's ever done that before. I thought it was a big deal. I thought it would really go towards his legacy, and he chose not to do it. And I understand, because he wanted to go for, the repeat in the Super Bowl. I totally get that. But here's the deal. When you're talking about tight ends, the number of Super Bowls is really not something that people take into consideration when you're talking about their legacy. It's about,
I give him credit for that. To me, he made the right decision. Like, he sacrificed his legacy so that he could be at full strength for the playoffs.
He did. And I appreciate that. I really do, because I love that ring. However, if he's not going to take it personally, I am, because that's his legacy, man.
All right.
I understand.
Hey, let's come back to this on a commercial, because our game has tipped off here. And I want to test playing some of the audio here for us. Boston's off to a quick lead, 8-7, but Portland is right there with them. So we're going to have the stats on here so you can follow along. Of course, you can't broadcast the actual game live, but we are going to play the audio from the game. And anytime there's any key moments, we'll hop over and give our commentary on it, because with the fair use policy, you are allowed to, to show highlights of games. You just can't show the actual game. And every time we have a break here, we'll be chiming in about what's happening in the game, as well as giving our takes on everything in NFL free agency. Let's see. Are you guys able to hear that?
Pritchard on the run. Like just quickly get back and fill the paint.
Really, it's kind of broken up.
Inside, being watched by 8. Tatum will face up, fire a flare up there. After it is Scoot Henderson, as well as Horford. Looking by a Blazer out of bounds. Yeah, that score for DeAndre that he had. You see him in the middle of the floor. We just let the play roll. We let it roll so you can see what happens. He's got the smaller guard on him, and then he's able to capitalize with an offensive rebound. And you can't blink on that inbounds. Boston will take it, and Horford drills a 3. And the Celtics lead it here 11-7. Horford shoots 39% from 3. It comes in, works into the body of Horford. Blazer bench. Wants a contact ball there. Boston will play on.
Horford and Pritchard getting the start here with Porzingis out.
That's +9, best in the NBA. Pritchard outside.
He's got 2 threes. Wow.
Reloads outside of Pritchard. Conley swings it here to Tatum. His 3 dances off, and Scoot Henderson's got it. Scoot between defenders out of backcourt. Jabbed away from behind by Derek White, a supreme defender. And they turn it into a 3-on-1 downhill, just like that. Brown scores. Celtics on top by 6. Timeout needed 4 minutes into this first quarter. Just underway from Portland, Oregon. The Celtics in town tonight.
The audio is a little behind the scorecast here. We'll have to see how that works out. We're always tinkering with the format here. So yeah, that's interesting about Kelsey. I think Kelsey is somebody who's on my list for fantasy. Jeremiah, speaking of tight ends, I'd love to get your take on what do the Bengals just not use the tight end, or do they not have one, or what's the deal with the Bengals?
Well, we use the tight end as much as we can. We picked up Irv Smith last year thinking he was going to pan out after letting Hayden Hurst sign with Carolina last year. I'm hoping Tanner Hudson was really starting to pan out at the end of last season. A lot of people don't know him. And we re-signed a guy we've had here for a long time, Drew Sample. He's more of a blocking tight end. However, also towards the end of last season, he was starting to get a lot more touches.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Irv Smith, yeah, because I thought he might be a sleeper and that they might start to use him more last year, but it didn't really materialize. And what about Tyler Boyd? Is he definitely gone through free agency?
He's not definitely gone, but he has the opportunity to sign where he wants. I know that they've talked to him, but I haven't heard anything come of that yet.
Yeah. And
we may also lose our 4th receiver. So we're going to be a little weak at receiver, especially if we don't get things with T. Higgins figured out, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, who would there be after that? Can Charlie Jones play at all, or
Charlie Jones, he's more of a special teams guy, kick returner. We had this guy, number 80. I almost can't pronounce his name. It's Evasius or something along those lines. He really started to get a role there towards the end of the season. But that was when Browning was in there. I don't know what kind of rapport he'll have with Joe.
So when you say you're not sure you're going to work it out with T. Higgins, does that mean that you think they're going to trade him, or do you think he's going to sit?
I do think they're going to trade him. We can't keep him and Jamar long term, and the rapport Jamar and Joe have together, you have to keep them two together. So I'd love to keep them both. I just don't see it being feasible.
So you don't think that they would force him to play on the tag?
Oh, we could. But we want him to be happy too. We don't want the cancer in the locker room.
Yeah, anytime you're forcing somebody to play, that's not usually a good recipe for a Super Bowl run. But if they, if they lose Higgins, I mean, that's a big step down for the offense, right? Especially if
Oh,
somebody
huge.
shows you, I mean, I guess if you get picks this year, maybe they can reload and draft somebody. There are a lot of good receivers. What are you hearing they're eyeing in the draft? Are they going to look receiver to replace Higgins?
Well, the latest mock drafts I've seen has had some receivers here. I've actually seen Brock Bowers fall into 18, although I don't think that's going to happen. I still would prefer tackle. Let's keep Joe upright. That's the most important thing. I feel we can just about throw anybody in there, play receiver. I think he's that good.
Yeah. Yeah, our game's coming back from the commercial break here, so we'll continue to take takes on this game and also talking football in the commercial here. But it's 13-9, 6 minutes to go in the first. Yeah, Pritchard and Horford have come out shooting. It's interesting with the Celtics, being down those two starters. It's almost like Pritchard and Horford, like they're a little more motivated. That could work out in Boston's favor tonight because those two are coming out playing hard because they don't usually get to play as much, especially Pritchard.
One defender as the other one catches back up into the play. And as he's driven, he's just processing all of that stuff and knowing that at the end, he puts that left shoulder into the body of the defender. He's going to be able to get that right hand soft, short hook off. Jason Tatum, Lamar, what do you like about his game as you look at it from the outside? To me, the hardest thing to game plan against is a player that can just beat you one-on-one. Because really the only answer short of an individual defender that can check that person, which that's few and far between in the league, is you got to run a double team at him. And with Tatum on a perimeter, it's hard to double team guys on a perimeter and then also stop their passing, particularly when they got teammates who shoot the three the way that Scoot apparently wants to shoot it.
No defense out there.
So Tatum can just break down any defense you throw at him. And sometimes you play great defense on him, Kevin, and still make the shot. It can be demoralizing. Henderson draws the Blazers to within 2. Tatum goes to work. Simon.
What is Horford average, man? He's already got 9 points.
So that's an example.
Yeah,
Horford's getting a lot of playing time tonight because of Porzingis being out.
Yeah.
In terms of the height advantage,
They got to guard him at the 3.
So we're going to get back to what Tatum did in a second because we got to revisit that handle. TV truck, if we can we replay that handle along the baseline? Because this is how he's been getting busy since the return. Oh, in and out. Oh, hit him with the bop bop. I know you love when the bop bop comes back. And remember, Scoot just did it the other night too against the Raptors. So he's got that flow, man. He's just got that comfort zone that he is playing in, and it has looked great.
It's just open 3 after open 3, no defense by either team.
26 minutes. No restraints on him tonight. He had 13-5 assists in the overtime victory against the Raptors. Well, let's watch to see if Tatum can draw help. That's what he did last time. DA was sitting in the help position because he knew Tatum could do this, shoot over the top of Anthony Simons. And so Tatum made the pass the time before. Now the defender goes underneath. And Tatum makes him play from 3. Something he has not been doing great over his last 3 games, Kev. Only shooting 31% from the 3-point line over his last 3. Shoots 8 a game. And at a high percentage, 3.76. Here's White. Kicks to Brown along the inline. He's forced to spin out of a double. Finds White, bails him out. Gives to Horford. Ball popping for Boston. Not hitting it down. Simons up the floor, belt high dribble, makes a move off the high screen, goes at Horford, laid it up, no, good foul. It's DA for the bucket. Anthony did his job by pulling Horford with him, and then DA did his job by taking advantage of the mismatch. Smaller defender trying to box him out. There go the Celtics. You said it. If you blink, you might miss something with them. Sam Hauser with the counter, now his 3rd year out of Virginia, averages 8 a game, coming off the bench. Simons, one-on-one zigzag dribble, out of the holster with a scoop and a foul. Simons awarded for his work with a chance at 2 at the line. DeAndre Ayton currently sitting on 4 straight games of double-doubles as a Blazer.
What do we know about this guy coming in for Tatum? We're set.
Yeah, I never heard of him. Going deep into the bench tonight.
Against Toronto.
Where's McDaniel? I'm gonna try to put on my glasses and look something up about him.
Off to the early start here. Boston shooting 50%, Blazers at 43.
Syracuse, 4 years.
Delano Banton, performer. Boston Celtics for half the season prior to being traded, of course, just before the deadline. And Banton has been terrific with the Blazers. Yeah. In his 12 games, he's averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, nearly 3 assists a game. He's taking care of the ball, under 2 turnovers a game, and averaging 23 minutes per contest.
He got a chance to go up against his former Raptors organization.
He looked great.
And yes, he did. And now here's his shot against the Celtics, his other former organization.
Brown fakes. Look at him survey, just waiting to see if the Blazers were going to commit to him. They didn't, and he drives it right to the rack.
Yeah, that's good patience from Jalen Brown, knowing most teams typically don't help off that strong side corner. So he was testing them out, waiting to see. So it looked like JT was halfway on a pass and halfway with the shot. He saw DA down there.
Horford on the push, gives to White in deep. He'll pump it up on the run. And the Celtics lead here by 8.
And Derek White's so dangerous. He plays hard all the time, but has a star's skill set. Not necessarily Tatum and Brown, but something in the family tree. Something you give him enough opportunities, he's going to be solid. He's going to shoot the ball well. He's going to make the right decisions. Almost sounds like I'm talking about Anthony Simons. It's Anthony over these last 4. Last 5 actually averaging his 28 points per game. And playing sound basketball of when to go, when to slow.
Brown gets into a Euro step, 23 a night for Brown. 8-point lead for the Celtics. And a monster game against Denver at the 40 points. Simon bounces off to the far edge, kicked out of bounds on the Blazer basketball.
Jalen Brown and Sam Howells are talking because I don't think what just happened defensively was the ideal scenario for what they wanted. Anthony passed that ball where Kev, I think if he would have held on to it, he could have backed it out a little bit. Might have had a one-on-one against Sam Hauser, which Anthony would prefer over having Jalen Brown glued to him. But he'll make the reads. He'll process things.
Grant, a 3, nailed it. Jeremy Grant with his first bucket of the night. I mentioned it the other night. The Blazers, with that win against Toronto, just their first in 10 tries without Grant. 1 in 9 without Jeremy Grant are the Blazers. That's how important he has been. And that's getting the 18 they have enjoyed so far this year. Checking into the lineup is the 7'2", 7th-year pro out of Vanderbilt, Will Purdue. No, it's Luke Cornett. I beg your pardon. 28-23 count. Celtics on top by 5 and a timeout on the deck. Good screen, Tease. Shout out to Will Purdue.
All right. Well, so far Portland's hanging right with them. Not much defense from either team. I'm going to try to see if we can get the audio in more sync with the game cast. While I'm doing that, David, anything catch your eye from everything else that's going around in the league tonight? Got a full slate of NBA games. I know Wemby was on TV earlier today.
Yeah, Wemby got posterized. I've gotten like I don't know how many notifications about that. So I'm gonna have to, maybe we should pull that up to take a look at that. But as far as this particular game goes, Scoot Henderson's he's not on the floor right now, but he's really been like the offense, him and DeAndre Ayton on that pick and roll that he's really looking impressive so far.
Yeah, what go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry. Okay, so I was just looking at Twitter real quick, and this is for football, and it looks like the Ravens, it looks like they made an offer to Derrick Henry in the range of $6.5 million per year. So it's just, I don't know if that's confirmed, but that's what it's saying on Twitter. And then another thing, it was very interesting. that they said only 2 wide receivers signed with new teams today, and both of them went to the Jags. It was Gabe Davis and Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, Duvernay, I haven't been too impressed with at Baltimore. But that's interesting on Derrick Henry to the Ravens. It's kind of a low ball offer, but they're giving him a chance to win and to start and be featured. We're gonna have to talk more about that. I want to get the Houston guys response on that. Jeremiah, let's save your take for the next commercial because it's almost back here with the audio. Let's see if we can get this on this game on here.
Yeah, Delon has been outstanding as a scorer for the Portland Trailblazers. Something he didn't really show as a Boston Celtic. We're looking at his per 36-minute numbers as a Boston Celtics player: 11 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. When you look at the Blazers per 36 minutes, his scoring rate has doubled pretty much to 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. That's about the same scoring rate as DeMar DeRozan and CJ McCollum. A lot of advantage. Show me.
Audio's muted.
We can't hear the audio, Greg.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get it in touch with the like the whatever you call it. He's trying to get the volumes the same, I think.
Let's see. How about now?
Too high. Brown feels
You can hear it.
nearly blindsided by Scoot. He surveys and we'll back it out now. Oh, White with a pretty hefty screen there on Scoot, but Henderson recovers to get the board and fouled by Brissett. O'Shea Brissett stepping in. He's not played the last 4 games for Boston, but he's always been a steady customer when playing for the Indiana Pacers. The Blazers have seen him in the past. 6'7", 50-year pro out of Syracuse. He will broaden that Boston bench. The other guy that we might be seeing tonight is Xavier Tillman Sr., who's acquired for a couple of seconds from Boston just this year. 6'8" big man. Kamani Kamara on the floor for the Blazers, along with Dwight Marie. It's been 2 great stories here in Portland this year, along with the short stay of Bandit, who finds Kamara with a beautiful pass, high. And as he dives in, he is fouled. And so Kamara from Belgium will step to the line. 52nd pick in the draft, 2nd round draft choice. Kamani Kamara by the Phoenix Suns.
The way this was defended was why, Kev, I had that second key to the game of improvise, because the Celtics were switching on that possession. And when you play against a switching defense, you get kind of lulled into an east-west windshield wiper type offense, just going side to side a little bit. But you got to get that direct line penetration at some point, and that's where the improvising comes into play. And the Blazers go screen, where it puts the Celtics in that 1 second period of indecision. Tumani was able to free himself up in the middle during that period, and then went hard to the bucket. Look at Matisse. He's got the correct hand up in the passing lane as usual. You want that chest kind of facing your man so he can't cut right across you. So Tatum was not able to cut right across Matisse, and that hand was waiting for the ball. And now they got Scoot involved too. So they got 3 junkyard dogs in the backcourt with Tumani, Scoot, and Matisse just ready to pounce on something with Delano lurking in the background.
Yeah, Boston's got to get it across in 5 seconds. Here's Pritchard. He'll do just that. Blazers with 3, Banton, Kamara, 5-0, and Scoot Henderson on the floor. It's Richard stepping through and a beautiful lob up top to the big man over the flush. 33-25 count. Cornette scoring indeed. Double this Kamara outside the reach, straight away looking 3. Got Dwight Marie, 37% from 3-point range. He has been solid for the Blazers this year. Celtics to lead here of 5. 50 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Bible steps out second in the league in total steals behind Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Over to Tatum into the lane. Clear space with a robust move to the rack. He's fouled on the scoop.
See, that's the part of Tatum when you were asking me. What I like about his game is the ability to do that. There goes Tumani catching that ball in the paint. That's a paint touch, which the Blazers are always trying to get. It doesn't have to be on the dribble, it can be off the pass. The result is typically the same. Defense turns, they look, and then they lose sight of the shooters like the Wop running into the play.
Tatum works his way inside with that inside-out left-hand dribble drive, under control at 6'8".
Yeah,
Just razoring in there for
He's 6'10".
Simon for 2 for 1 for Boston to end the quarter.
13 to shoot, 22 seconds to play here in the quarter. Boston will lead is 7. Scoot sees a double come at him. Now Cornette retreats. Henderson outside of 3. That's an air ball. It goes off a Banton out of bounds. It will be Boston ball with 10 and 3/10 seconds to play in the quarter.
Bill Mazzulla sending Derek White back in for this last 10 seconds.
And Brissett will depart. So White, Pritchard getting the start tonight if you're just joining us, the 10th of his career, the first this year. Porzingis is out, and Drew Holiday not playing tonight either. Pritchard will get it in bounds. He's quick in line, but so is Scoot
Let's see if he scores this here. He gets it in time at the end of the quarter.
The glass. Locks it again. Get it the right. He collects Reith, who goes down in a heap in anguish.
Boom. Looks like Hauser got the tip in. Nice. All right, I'm going to see if I can sync those up while we're on commercial break. It's the end of the first quarter here. 37-28. The Celtics are leading by 9, looking like they are going to cover if they continue at this pace. Jeremiah, did you have a take from earlier?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention tonight that I seen Luka's 30-point triple-double streak went away. His triple-double streak did not go away. However, he only scored 27. And add to what Lisa was saying with the 2 receivers going to Jacksonville today, Jerry Jeudy also got traded, but he was on the move today to Cleveland as well.
So Luka did have the triple-double. He just didn't get to 30 today.
Yep, 27.
What's your take on Luka? How far do you think he can take them?
The conference finals, I don't see anybody, including your Celtics, beating the Nuggets. They just seem too good. Jokic is crazy good. He's so sloppy and slow, but it works. It's just like nothing I've ever seen. Luka plays similarly, being a little smaller, but I don't see Dallas getting past the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, even just getting to the Western Conference Finals would be a big win for this Dallas team. So let alone, being able to beat them. All right, let's keep going around the horn here. Lisa, what's your take on the Derrick Henry signing? You think that takes Baltimore up a notch where they can threaten your Kansas City Chiefs?
That one's interesting to me. I can see him fitting, but I thought that he would fit better in the Cowboys system. So I don't know if that really moves the lever that much. He's always tough, but to be honest with you, we played Derrick Henry pretty well. So as far as him getting past the Chiefs, if it's just him, I would say no. He wouldn't be the catalyst to put him over the top. But the only time that the Ravens have beat us was when we fumbled at the end of the game. So I know that they're tough and they play us tough, but I don't think Derrick Henry's going to be the one that takes them over the edge. And I don't think that they're as big of a challenge as some people think they are to the Chiefs.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like it's like all Mahomes is like kind of enemies, like teaming up to try to beat them type of thing. Like reminds me of like when Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley, they all went to the Houston Rockets thinking that they were going to win, and it didn't work out because they were all at the end of their careers.
Exactly.
All right, our game's back on. We'll go around the horn with some more takes on this and see where Derrick Henry might land. For him not to go to Dallas, I think is big news and really signals something about Dallas.
It'll give you a lot of depth. Of course, I think it's stepping in. He's Al Horford for Porzingis. Fans during the game tonight, we have the Toyota half-car shot. It's where one lucky fan has the chance to shoot for a brand new Toyota vehicle, courtesy of Ron Talking Toyota. And a chance to take a future shot at www.trailblazers.com/Toyota half-court shot. Scoot Henderson sets up on a read screen into the lane to the glass. Unfurls a finger roll, but well defended in there by Cornette. They break out with Pritchard. Finding Tatum on the trail for the two-hand jam. And it's a 12-point lead for the Celtics.
Smart play from Peyton Pritchard. He ran into the body of Delano Benton. He basically erased Delano from the play as a shot blocker, so he made it really easy for Tatum on the catch to finish.
DeMar backs in, nice little drop step to get to the window.
Hey, since I have the main screen here, it's hard for me to let me turn this off for a sec, to look around for a place that's more in sync. So I was wondering if you guys could just pop that into Google and see if you can find the game either on the radio broadcast over the internet that is in sync with the game cast, or maybe there's a place that's doing both that we can show instead. So if you guys could help me out and just run a quick search for that. So it's hard for me to keep going back and forth doing it while trying to keep the game on here.
To be honest with you, the game cast is in perfect sync with my broadcast.
Good shots lead to good offensive rebound.
The game cast is in sync with your TV.
Led to a bucket. Boston up in 10.
Yeah, the game cast is in sync with my TV too. The problem is our audio is
struggle finding
behind.
sacrifice.
So we need to
Not for
find that's
not
why I
for
was saying-
me. Not for me.
Ahead of
That's what I
mine.
mean.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah,
That's-
same with Lisa. It's lined up audio with where I'm at on the television.
yeah.
Right, but the game cast on the screen.
Ahead.
So I guess just then you're not watching the game cast, right? You're just watching the television. And they're in sync. So okay, yeah, I guess that works if we're watching our television. We're not really watching the game cast. Then it's not really a problem. That makes sense. Dave, what's your take on Derrick Henry coming to Baltimore? I mean, they're a division rival for Houston. Does this make them more formidable?
Yeah, so Baltimore's not in our division. Our division's Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee. But I don't see anything officially saying that Baltimore. I see that they're making an offer in the ballpark of 6.5, but I don't see anything saying it's official.
Well, yeah, he
In
hasn't
fact-
accepted the offer yet. They've just made him the offer, it sounds like.
Yeah, but if it's 6.5, I can see the Texans jumping in on that because we were offering Saquon 11. He went to the Eagles because they were giving him 12 a year. So I could see us offering Derrick Henry maybe 8, 9 to come to Houston. He would actually be perfect for our scheme, that zone offense.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's got wear and tear on him, but a year or two of him, I'd take a chance on at that for less than 10 million.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he could help them get over the hump this year. I mean, I think you were the one that pointed out why they threw so much is they just couldn't run it last year, right? So they were kind of forced to throw it.
So I wouldn't say they threw enough. I think they ran the ball too much. Even they would try to get cute, do a lot of end arounds with the receivers. Because our focus was to have a balanced offense, and that's what ended up costing us games like we lost to Atlanta. We should have won that one. We lost to who else? Carolina. We lost to those two teams. Those were huge losses because we kept trying to force the ball down their throat when, throwing the ball, we would have won easily.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I want to get more into CJ Stroud talk when halftime comes here. Let's check back in on our game.
It's crazy going from my dorm room 4 months before that with this Jordan posters on my wall and then playing against them at 21 years old. So that was definitely my moment. We won that game. I'll never forget that.
It's Chauncey Billups we're hearing from now.
Yeah, that was it. It was awesome. Well, several stops along the way, which Brooke mentioned there in Boston for half a season, and then on to Toronto for half a season, and then 2 years in Denver, and then 2 in Minnesota. That's where he really grew as a player because of mentorship from other players playing ahead of him, like Terrell Brandon, for example. Yeah. He gives Terrell Brandon a lot of credit. Anytime you bring up Minnesota and his time there. 12-point lead for the Celtics. Reed after the timeout with a 3. Pritchard countering. Maybe Pritchard, yeah, can catch fire, as the place was well known. He's a career 39%er from beyond the arc. Yeah, he'll be above the 40% line in due time. Has always been able to shoot the ball at an extremely high level. It rotated over to Hauser in transition for a look at 3. Brissett with a rebound. Pritchard over into the corner. Boston perpetual movement on the offensive end. Yeah. Scoot up the floor. The Reef dribble handoff to Simons. And tonight, 2 of 5 in the early going. See, Caps, look at what the switching defense does. It kind of makes things stack.
Yeah, with the nice flush there.
Simons can't make that.
See if we can get a highlight of that.
A heavy diet of one-on-one plays, but the Celtics kind of give you limited options. It's why they got the best record in the league. No team wants to just sit in one-on-one mode all the time, but Boston has the defenders to kind of force you into it, especially when Porzingis and Holiday are playing. Screen center. Tatum meanders into the paint to get off the hook under duress, and then Cornette slaps the hatch shut. He's had a nice start here, and it's a 17-point Boston lead. To the baseline is Grant. Between defenders, Cornette and Brissetti's knocked down. Good save from Jeremy.
It's looking like Portland's problem is defending. They got a decent, an okay offense. They just can't defend.
And fortunately, the Blazers got the rebound.
Yeah, no defense from them at all.
It's generally hard to rebound out of those kind of possessions because the defense hasn't been shifted enough to lose their interior positioning for the defensive rebound. So a lot of times the Celtics can get you in that one-on-one play, and then it's one shot. If you miss, they're getting a rebound, and then they're going back, and you're trying to guard the highest rated offense in NBA history. Defensive rating of 122.4 coming into tonight's play. They are number 3 defensively in 111. And to your point, Lamar, Boston a 21-11 rebounding edge here this evening. The Blazers, of course, shoot 38%, so there's a lot coming off the window. Grant knocks down the free throw, 15-point Celtic lead. It's White and Brown to bring it out of backcourt. Morford rejoins them as well. And Pritchard's over in the corner with Cornette looming up top. He'll come up to screen on Simons. Brown off the pick. Simons under the screen. Brown into the lane. Running right-hander up and in for the 6'6" Jalen Brown. I think what Coach Billups said pregame makes a lot of sense in talking about preparation for this game. There's so much to prepare for. You're not going to hit on everything. So try to play to the strengths. Offensively, the Blazers been a top 5 team all season long in screen roll as the ball handler scored or screen roll as the screener scored. That's been their bread and butter. So play to that. But then defensively, figure out a way to stop this guy with the ball right here. Tatum when he gets it. Try to stop all the 3-point shooting that you know they're going to hit you with. And then you got to go up against that zone. That is a very good zone Boston plays on the other end. Solid stop there by the Blazers, and it started with Simons not allowing Brown to get to the bucket. And now they come back and they go to your point. Their strength right now is 10 points on 5 of 8 shooting.
And they can play to that strength a lot more, Kev, when they get a stop. Because if that's a made bucket, Boston might be falling back into that zone where DA might not have that real estate available to him in the middle.
Here's Brown spinning, elevating, and good closeout.
Chris is right there.
He was right there.
Chris is right there. He's played the second most minutes since the All-Star break. Or I'm sorry, second most starts of any rookie. Only Chet Holmgren since the All-Star break has more than Chris. And Kev, we've seen him continue to make plays like that. Be there with a hand on the shot. Hands in the passing lane. He did everything he could do on that last possession.
Brown, by the way, 6 of 9 with that bucket.
Scoop doing a good job of defending there. He was trailing the play as Cornette was running to a help position.
And when you're measuring yourself against the best in the league, you look for those little incremental areas, signs of improvement, learning. Simons, 8 slips the screen, changes his mind in mid-air. Scoop will fire, that one off the arc, and rebound grabbed by the Boston Celtics. Tatum quickly to White, has been strung out, goes 1 on 3 downhill and scores.
A quick transition from Derek White. The Celtics play 18.2% of their total possessions in transition. That's the 9th most in the NBA. So they're either off and running or they're picking you apart in the half court with a 3-point shooter. Speaking of 3-point shooter, how about Matisse Thybulle and the shooter we have seen from him over the last month or so? More reflective of what we saw Matisse to start the season than where he was kind of in that middle range.
3 of 5 coming off that game against Toronto. 3 points to Matisse. Brown gets inside, got his own miss. Outside, Derek wide open. 3 in and out, and a rebound recovered by Thybulle. Under 5 minutes remaining here in the first half. Celtics on top, 56-42. Coming to it is Simon. Can't shoot. Knocked it down. Anthony Simons, a 39%er from 3-point range this year. Gives the Blazers an opportunity here with 4:43 remaining in the second to close a little closer to the Boston Celtics. If it all comes down, got a 3 ball. The Blazers tonight are 7 of 15. Boston 8 for 20 here in Portland.
Introducing Gatorade Water.
Well, it looks like Boston's almost covering in the first half here. And they suckered us in with all those points on the home dog there. I'm going to try to see if I can find that Wemby highlight from earlier tonight. That
Keep in mind, though, that if Boston gets a big lead in the fourth quarter, they'll take out all their starters, and then that's, Portland might be able to cut it down and make it look interesting. The game will probably be out of hand by that point, but 13 points, 12 and a half, that's still a lot with over a half left to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like that applies a lot to player overs. I don't know if once one team pulls their starters, the other might. Let's look at this play from tonight. This is the one David mentioned. It is getting a lot of hype out here.
One more bucket. One more bucket or one more stop. Trace Jackson Davis. Take that 8-foot leap. That is his welcome to the league moment. Dunked on by another rookie. That is insane. He went for the steal, and that's what set him up. And Trace Jackson Davis just finished it. They felt that in Lyon, in Versailles, in Paris, in Burgundy.
For an and one too. Wow. As he said there, put the whole country of France in there. It's interesting. Cam, who's our not on tonight, but he's from Golden State fan. He's been talking up this guy for a while. He was saying that how great he played against Giannis the other night, and that Davis is a rising star on Golden State's playoff run here. That's really what they're missing. Our game's back on. We'll take feedback on that when we get to halftime here.
season high. And looking over the last 2 months, February and March, shooting 86% in the restricted area. That's second best in the NBA. The only one better is the reigning finals MVP, Nikola Jokic. So 86% at the rim. I love seeing that, attacking him. DeAndre Ayton already hitting up mid-range. We'll see more at the rim. Dominating.
No, we'll see. Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Going to be difficult to get inside on the Boston Celtics, particularly with their size and the savvy. There's Horford stepping in now for that. Slashing in is Brown. A quarter screw fade is off in the rebound defense. He's joined by Ayton, along with Thibault and Simons. And in the near corner is Brisbane.
That was a good coaching call from the sidelines from Coach Phillips and company. They came out in a zone look, knowing the Celtics likely drilled a man-to-man play. And Jalen Brown did not get a great look at it, and the Blazers turned that Jalen Brown miss into 2 points for DA.
Cut it to 6.
Lead, Horford operating up top. Tatum works to the edge, being challenged by Matisse Thybulle, sitting on the left hand. He'll pop out after a move for 3 that was bothered by Matisse Thybulle. At least he appeared to be bothered here. Simon's coming off the screen for Nate. Reworks it, and he's down a triple.
He is one of the harder guards in the league to deal with on a screen and rescreen. If he doesn't get the look the first time, his handle is tight enough, and he knows how to take the right angles to get to the spot he wants to get to on that second attack.
Blazers playing better defense, leading to some offensive opportunities. An 11-0 run to pull to within 5. Brown has a good by Thibault, recovered by Brown, strolls into the lane and snakes a hook with the left hand by Ayton, up and off the window and in. What a move.
That was smooth. That's a field shot, because it looked like he's basically chest to chest, face to face with DA, and just knew with that left arm how to navigate it around DeAndre's body to find the rim.
Simons off a screen. Good close closeout by White. Blazer bench thought he's been fouled. Here they come the other way after the turnover. And the Boston Celtics score on a 3-on-2.
This is where the Blazers want to try to seize some control back and keep this thing within 10 going into halftime.
Bain goes to work. Crossover into a 3. Rebound to Tatum. And he comes on the rookie Murray, straight arms him, turns the corner, gains the edge, 2-hand jam.
There's just no size under the basket on that play. DeAndre had to pick up Jalen Brown on the left side of the floor. That's just the way things worked out, because Boston, no matter who gets it, that person can search the break. They don't give you a chance to get the matchups you want.
Like that, and Ayton immediately gets into it.
Right back out.
Gets into his zone. 14.7 of 10 shooting, and the Blazers within 10.
Ayton's hot tonight.
Fading in the second. Tatum has the matchup they want. They clear it out as he isolates and backs down now on Simons.
See what I'm saying? That's not a play call. That's hunt a matchup, clear out some space, give Tatum the ball in the middle, and there's no easy answer of what to do at that point, especially when the defender is several inches shorter than you.
Tatum 6'8", and Simons listed at 6'3.5". Grant will come in for the Blazers.
And this is with limited movement. All they have is Derek White along the baseline, changing size of the paint. And he didn't even have to do that. They know Tatum is so good.
Look at Al dribbling.
and wait to see what play he makes.
Minute and a half left in the second. Celtics on top here by 12.
Ooh, it should have been either one.
Grant goes to work on Brown. Sees a double team. Portland steps out. Simons checked by White, swats it away. It's recovered by Horford. An excellent passer. Go wind it outside with 60 seconds remaining here in the second period of play. Tatum operating on a double team. Jump pass to Brown, slashes in, draws contact, laid it up and in through the contact. Brown was 17 in the first half.
That's one of the things that makes Boston special, Kev. On this end of the floor, look who Tatum is guarding. DeAndre, and Boston doesn't mind that. Whereas on the other side, you just had DeAndre guarding Tatum. The Blazers didn't feel comfortable with that matchup. They run a double team, which kicked off the ball movement and the eventual score for the Celtics.
One and done for the Blazers. Brown the other way. Pulled up three. Ball batted by Hauser, recovered by the Blazers. Differential of a few seconds between the clocks. Celtics by 14. Simons letting it work down to 7 before they summon 8 up top to screen on White. They want Hauser to jump out on Simons. He's got to trigger a deep three.
Yeah, he wanted Hauser.
White comes down with the board. Off the floor he comes. He'll get it on. To beat the buzzer, it's wide right. Celtics on top 66-52. Halfway through. Brooke holds it down. Michael are up after the break.
66-52 at halftime. Looks like Boston is covering so far. Threes are dropping for Tatum. David, anything standing out to you in this half?
Yeah, they can't stop Ayton with that mid range. He's what, 7 of 10. He's nasty with it, but they just, if you can't play defense against this Celtics team, you really don't stand a chance because they're loaded across the board. But yeah, if they feed Ayton and play a little bit defense, they can cover that spread. But yeah, they're not going to win.
Yeah, I'm with you. It looks like Boston's bench is coming out, bringing some energy. When Tatum's shots drop in, they can pretty much beat anybody. Jeremiah, what do you think Boston has to do to be able to beat Denver and win the championship?
They're going to have to find a way to stop Jokic, and I haven't seen anyone do that all season. That guy's just I seen someone else say this, I don't remember who, but every few years there's someone in the league, it's just unstoppable. There's nothing you can do. There was Shaq for a while, there was Kareem for a while, there was Mike, there's LeBron. Right now it's him. No one has an answer for him, and unless Wemby gets a little bigger, I don't see an answer in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, the only scenario I can see, you can't stop Jokic. We saw that when Boston and Denver went head to head. If you don't double team him, he was just posting up and getting layups against Porzingis, who's pretty big. And so that didn't work. And then if you do double team him, if you double team with the bigs, they kill you with the offensive boards. Gordon was getting all the putbacks.
Yep.
Or if you double team with the guards, then they shoot threes, and guard can't really help against Jokic anyway. So you can't stop Jokic, but you can outscore him because he mostly scores twos. So, and Boston is built to score threes. So if Boston can stay in it and down the stretch get 3 every time Jokic's getting 2, they can trade 3 for 2s and stay ahead of them. That to me gives me a puncher's chance that they, especially if they get home court advantage, that they might be able to pull that off. So, Will, what do you think? What do the Celtics have to do to be able to beat Denver?
I'm looking. I'm trying to figure out who the big guys were. Murray, they can't let Murray kind of control the game. Murray actually is a lot better than people think. And then you have Gordon, I think Aaron Gordon is actually a really good player too. So they have some good secondary players. So it's just a matter of stopping them, Jamal Murray, they're going to need Jamal Murray to take off a few of these games, He's averaging over 20 points a game. He's no joke. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you let Jokic, like Will's saying, you let Jokic get 30 or even 40, and you try to contain everyone else. Murray, one thing I saw in the game, Boston-Denver game, was Murray got a lot of his points when Jokic was on the bench. Murray became really aggressive, and he was scoring while Jokic was on the bench. And I feel like if Boston could clean that up, if they could shut that down, maybe even double team Murray when Jokic goes to the bench, that could really contain, their Denver team, right? Because they do have to find a way to score when Jokic's on the bench, and that's where Boston could gain some points on them.
Does it work to pick Jokic up like full court, or is that kind of a bust?
I mean, it depends if
People
he's
pass
bringing the
out of
ball up. Yeah. Keep in mind you're gonna have to put, somebody on him, right? So,
I might tire him out.
yeah. I mean, tiring him out.
Yeah.
The best way to tire him out is to make him play defense. And the thing is he tends to guard whoever kind of the weakest guy is. They're showing highlights of Luka now at halftime. He had some nice passes in the triple-double. Looks like they won this game easily against Chicago. Let's talk some more football and fantasy football. If there's anything we didn't cover in our earlier segment, go ahead and raise your hand if you want to add something to it. Otherwise, I thought it'd be fun to look in on some underdog drafts that I'm in. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with best ball. I play on Underdog. There's lots of sites that have these. So basically, the way this works on Underdog is it's a 12-team draft. There's no kickers and defenses. It's just your quarterback, receiver, running back, and tight end. And it's a 20-round draft. So really long. Like by the end, you're drafting everyone's backups. So it really tests your knowledge of players. And especially now when there's all this free agency and the rookies aren't even drafted yet, if you know a lot about those players, you can really get an edge because other people haven't speculated on them. And then there's no during the season, there's no free agency, there's no trades, there's no need for free agents because every player and every backup is taken. And there's no putting in your lineup. So the computer just picks your best lineup. So you don't have to decide who to put in. And there's several different ways to do the drafts. They have a tournament. They have a $2 million tournament that costs $10 to play. And the picks go every 30 seconds. What I'm going to show you tonight are what's called the slow 12-team drafts. These are actual drafts. And I'll wind up playing against just these 12 people, and whatever the money is that's put in will wind up going into the prize pot. So let's look in on some of these that I have some picks coming up, and we can talk about the selections. And it also gives everyone kind of a showcase of how this works. So here's an example. We're going to click into this one here. I'm on the clock. It's a $3 entry. There's 12 teams, right? So it's only $36. It would go into the pot. The underdog takes 10%. So there's like $32, $33 in prize money, right? It's not really going to make a difference in anyone's life, but it's only $3 to play, and it's kind of fun. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of these drafts that are like this. You can select different lengths. I always keep mine at 12 because I've got a lot of practice now at doing 12-team drafts. And I have an idea of where players might go. And it's interesting to see where other people are drafting. So let's click into this one here. And we can see that in this pick, and you get these are what are called slow drafts, which means you have up to 8 hours between every pick. So this draft drags out over days and weeks. Sometimes I'll pick and the next guy picks right away. People like me, I have set to give me a notification when my turn's up. I try to go in right away. Tonight, obviously, I was on the show, so I haven't gone for a few hours. But it's you get actually, this one must be like 12 hours because I still have 9 hours left, and we've been on the show now for 3 hours here. So let's click into this one and just see what my roster is. And see if it'll go where I want it to go here. Usually I would click there. Usually I do this on mobile, so I'll have to see if it's going to work out on I guess it has my queue here on the right. Where's my roster?
Do you see a go to draft button on the bottom? Did that help or no? Right there.
I don't know. Yeah, what does that do? think it's going to pull up the draft board.
Okay. Really the only button you can press.
Yeah, right. But here, okay, so here we can see who I have on this team so far. So if we look on the right, I had 11th pick. I took AJ Brown in the first round, Nico Collins in the second round. I'm actually kind of down on Nico Collins since then. And so here we can see how this whole draft is going. And really, I'm just doing this for learning experience, right? To see where other people are taking people and how it's going. Anybody that's playing here, I mean, you have to pay to play. So these are pretty serious players. And I especially look to see who they take in the late rounds. And this is where someone pops on my radar, like, oh, who's this guy they're taking in the late round? And then I'll go research the guy. So just taking a look at this here, this is interesting that Tyreek Hill went number 2. Usually CD's been going 2. Jefferson is here. Obviously, this was before the Kirk Cousins leaving. That could impact him. Brees Hall, Bijan, Amon. I mean, this is all pretty straightforward. So I had 11th pick here. I took AJ Brown. This was a real shocker here. Michael Pittman in the first round and Marvin Harrison. Like, that's a really interesting looking team. I took Nico here, over Garrett Wilson. I'm not a big Garrett Wilson fan. I don't trust the Jets. I do like DJ Moore, but I think I have him on a lot of my teams. So I just wanted someone different. We see Saquon going here in the second. I wouldn't do that now. Then we loop back here. Here's Rashee Rice going in the third. Diggs in the third.
I think the big surprise for me is these Houston Texans guys are going early. Like people are acting like they got the best 2 receivers in the league. I don't know. I mean,
take Dell here. Take Dell's going in the third here. And
then Nico too.
Yeah, I mean, Nico's stats were amazing last year. Like, if we click in, we'll let us.
And CJ Stroud's accuracy too. He's going to put the ball where it needs to be. I mean,
so would you guys say they're the best 2 receivers? Like, best receiver combo in the league? They're being drafted like it.
No, Miami, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, but I mean,
maybe
Nico and
Philly and Minnesota got a say in that as well. Now that T. Higgins wants out of here.
Well, fantasy wise, I mean, unless Waddle's going earlier, like fantasy wise, you got 2 of the top 2 guys going in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, let's close out some of these windows here. I mean, Tank Dell is going before Waddle, although they're both in like the same range of when they've been going. Here's what we're looking for, right? Waddle went here, Tank Dell went here, right? Tyreek went way up here, right? So they're ahead of this. And here's AJ Brown. Devontae Smith went here, right in the same range. So yeah, Philly and Miami still have the best receivers. But I mean, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and Tank Dell only played half a season, and I feel like Nico Collins really came on when Tank Dell got hurt.
He only had 100-yard game after Tank Dell went down. He actually got hurt the very next game, and then I don't think he played against the Titans. So he only had 100-yard game after that, and that was against the Colts where he nearly had 200. But no, when Tank went down, that was a huge blow for our offense because all they had to do was focus on whoever our number 1 receiver was. And the Browns blew us out. We lost to the Jets because they have the worst field in the entire NFL. And then we were able to beat Tennessee, twice. Thankfully, we had that at the end of the year.
Yeah, so if we look under the hood at Nico Collins, we'll see this last game of the year, which doesn't count in fantasy. No one uses week 18. He had 200 yards and a touchdown, 30 points. It's kind of wasted, although you don't really hold that against the player looking at his stats for the year. But these last 3 games, this is what people are looking at. They're saying the last month of the season, this guy was on fire. He had, touchdown here, 80 yards here, didn't score. This is where he kind of got hot, and he was hot early too. He did have, some ups and downs. Like, to be taking him in your first or second round, over guys like Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, even Brandon Ayuk, I think is too high for Nico, in my opinion. I'm open to hearing if anybody else.
Yeah, he's very injury prone. That's the scary thing. Throughout his, like, last year was the best he's done, the most games he's played. But even last year he was constantly on the injury report.
Yeah, and I
So
think
we
that's
never knew.
that's my worry with Tank Dell too. Like if we look up Tank Dell's stats, I feel like people look at Tank Dell's stats and they're like 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he missed the last third of the season. Like imagine if you prorate that into this year, this guy's a stud. I'm like, yeah, but he is so tiny. That's why he missed the last third of the season. That's probably going to happen again next year. What do
Yeah,
you?
but he's going to get more touches in the offense. He's CJ's favorite target, and they love running the end around with him for some reason. I don't know.
If we look here, he started really slow. He had 2 good games here, and then a lot of games where he was hurting you. It looks like he missed a game.
He was knocked out of the Atlanta game with a concussion, so he didn't play against New Orleans.
Yeah, this month here. I remember at Thanksgiving time last year, he was going in the first round of like those fantasy drafts for that weekend. I'm like, wow, how far has Tank Dell come? Like from being almost undrafted in some fantasy leagues last year to like a first round pick. And then he got hurt. It was out for the year. It was so anticlimactic.
Would you take him, David, over like a Stefan Diggs or Adams or somebody?
Over Stephon Diggs and Adams, yeah, 1000%. Adams, you don't know who's playing quarterback, and Stephon Diggs, I just don't. I wouldn't trust him at his age and with the attitude he has. He may pull an Antonio Brown any day now. Who knows?
Yeah. So while we're on these guys, I know our game's back on here yet, but let's kind of finish this conversation and tap into our Houston expert here. So CJ Stroud, I think we can all agree, had probably the best rookie season a rookie quarterback has ever had. Usually it takes a couple years to adjust. Mahomes sat the bench his first year. Tom Brady didn't play his first year. For CJ Stroud to step into this team, which basically had, up until that point, no-name guys. Like there's no all-star running back or receiver. It was a no-name team. And for CJ Stroud to step in and lead this team to the playoffs and win a playoff game, I mean, it was an amazing season, possibly a once-in-a-lifetime type season. So I look at that and say, like, how much of this was just lightning in a bottle that year, or how much of this is his trajectory? Like, how much better can it get next year with these same receivers who are kind of banged up? Doesn't look like they're making a serious move in the running back space. You know, to me, like, if CJ Stroud has this, if CJ Stroud has the exact same year again, that would be amazing. That would be right. That would be a success, right? If they again come back and make the playoffs and win a playoff game, this guy's now had 2 of the best years of all time. So I would, my hypothesis is if Stroud can be the same he was this past year, that it would be huge, and possibly he could, have some drop off. And if we look at Stroud's stats for last year, granted, he missed 2 games, but I think, most quarterbacks these days miss 2 games, especially, ones that are, of his build. So to me, I look at his stats for last year. His fantasy stats are not great last year. He had 23 touchdowns. I mean, the top, like that's Mahomes had more than that. And we're saying Mahomes had a terrible year, right? Let's look at the rankings by position here, right? All players, quarterback, and see where Stroud is. We just made the case that if Stroud has the same year, that's doing great. And he'll either be the same or a little bit less in my projections. And if we, in terms of stats, especially, so if we go down here, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So he's 11th last year, which, so in 11th is like barely a starting. 11th means like you wait till the end of your fantasy draft and get a quarterback there. And CJ Stroud is getting drafted way up here. Like he's going to be up here somewhere. And I think if anybody's going to be up here, it's going to be Mahomes. You know, I don't see, I just don't see it. What are your thoughts on that, Dave, with CJ Stroud? I know how much you probably love him.
Yeah, so as far as fantasy, I mean, Tom Brady was never Tom Brady maybe had 1 or 2 seasons where he was the fantasy quarterback. CJ Stroud's very much, you know, if I need to put the team on my back and throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, I can do it, much like Tom Brady was. But he's also content with, you know, just handing the ball off and you know, winning the game. He had the first 2 games of the season. He was a rookie. You can't really hold against him. He missed 2 games in his first game back from the concussion. So in the Denver game is where they believe he initially had the concussion. So that Jets game, he was already banged up, and when the concussion was diagnosed. So he missed 2 games after that, and then that first game back, they tried not to put him in harm's way. So really, of the 17 games, you could really count maybe 11 of them where he was, you know, full systems go. And one of them was actually a really bad game. I think he threw for 3 picks against the Cardinals. So yeah, I think as far as fantasy, we can get it all mixed up. Because I would say Tom Brady is probably the greatest quarterback of all time, but he wasn't necessarily always the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah, he was a game manager for the first 10 years. He really wasn't about stats till Randy Moss got there and he started to, you know, to light it up. So, and
yeah, I guess I'm referring more to the second half of his career. So after maybe like 2010 onwards, he was still the greatest quarterback in the game, but he wasn't necessarily, you know, lighting up the fantasy scoreboard like Mahomes. If Mahomes needs to, you know, throw 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, he can do it, but he's also happy, you know, with just handing the ball off to Pacheco and winning 17-10.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Brady had some league MVPs there, and I don't want to get distracted on that. But I'm looking at, so this is where he's being drafted right now, like top 5. I'm like, he's not a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football. I think
Who's behind him? Just to see it.
you got Burrow, Prescott, Jordan Love, Fields, Murray, Herbert, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was top 5 last year. I don't see any reason Purdy's stats are going to go down. I think he's starting to get better. He's a young rookie. So Trevor Lawrence, you know, Jeremiah has his hand up. What's your thoughts on CJ Stroud for fantasy, Jeremiah?
Well, CJ Stroud for fantasy might not be, I agree, a top 5 quarterback. However, he's going to win a lot of games. Justin Fields typically has great fantasy numbers, and the Bears are looking to ship him out of town. So fantasy-wise, not a top 5 guy, probably a top 5 quarterback I would want in the league, though.
Yeah, and you know, even Justin Fields, those numbers are a myth. He had one season where he scored over 300 fantasy points the last year, 2022, and everyone was projecting, oh, this year he's going to throw the ball because he's got DJ Moore coming in and he'll have the running. And it didn't materialize last year. He got hurt. So, you know, he's not there. Now, Kyler Murray's a running quarterback. He's had a top 5 year. So, you know, that running, and you know, the interesting thing with Stroud is he does run it. Like he had several rushing touchdowns last year. So he's got the running part. That's what holds back a lot of these. That's why Tua is never in the top 10 in fantasy. Tua, he leads the league in yards and had 29 touchdowns, but he doesn't run at all. And so that hurts his fantasy rankings because rushing is worth double. Go ahead, Will.
I'm actually surprised. I thought he actually ran a lot more. I remember watching him against Georgia, and he was running like crazy. He really did not run the ball a lot.
Well, he's now especially he's scared of concussions now. They told him.
I know, so I wonder if he's going to be able to. He only had 3 touchdowns, which I don't think is a lot. And
yeah, and 2 of those are from the one. I think the one was against Pittsburgh where he got like a 5-yard rushing touchdown. But yeah, he doesn't run the ball unless he absolutely has to. He's about as fast as I am.
Well, they didn't have a running back. They had to do tush push at the goal line, probably.
So that's why I love Hurts. Hurts is a goal line QB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
have
guys
trouble
think of my
drafting.
take? You think that the tush push is going to go down with Kelsey retiring, or you think that it's all Jalen Hurts and it'll still it'll still be
Yeah,
unstoppable?
that's gonna go away. Without Kelsey, he was the centerpiece of that play. I know Hurts apparently squats a lot and gets the push, but they're not gonna use that play as much, at least not as successfully without Kelsey.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll still use it and they'll still be successful, but they won't be nearly as successful as they have been.
Yeah, it was the 1-2 punch of the both of them. It's the greatest center of all time and Hurts, who can squat all this together. That was
Yep.
unstoppable. That's why they had like 90%
So
success
I
rate.
disagree, and Jeremiah pointed out why. Not every quarterback can squat all five of us at one time. So I think because of how strong he is with his legs, I think that's what makes the difference, and that's why so many other quarterbacks can't do it. But I also think that the Buccaneers in that playoff game, they showed the blueprint to stopping it. When you have one of
Absolutely.
those, 300-pound Vita Veas in the middle. Dude's got to be like 350. That dude is ginormous. You have the Vince Wilforks, the Vita Veas, the Haloti Nadas. You have a guy like that playing the nose. I think that it's gonna phase out because of that.
Well, not every team has one of those guys, though.
You're right, but eventually I can see that fading out because of that. But for now, as long as Jalen Hurts can squat the entire rack, I don't see that going away.
Yeah, well, this will be the year to tell on this. Do you guys like the tush push? Do you think it is just because one team is really good at something, do we make it illegal? Or
Absolutely not. I don't think we make it illegal at all. It is kind of boring television, and at the end of the day, it's a television program we're watching. But it's very successful, and you can't just take it away because it's not the best thing to look at.
Yeah, there's no reason to take it away. There's no reason at all. It's just like he said, it's boring. I don't like it. I mean, they do it so many times and it's just like, ugh. It's just not fun to watch at all. But I don't think
and to me, if it takes if every team was doing it and it was working 80 or 90% of the time across the league, then I would say what you're doing is you're taking away all the drama and excitement around 4th and 1, because everybody just does a tush push now. It used to be this really exciting play that could be 50-50, could go either way. Now we lost some of the most exciting moments of football if it worked for everyone, but it doesn't work for everyone. So that's, I think, why you got to keep it.
But it's still not exciting. I mean, they're going to get it more than likely, and it's just okay. Let's just move the ball and go to the next play. That's how I feel sometimes. Let's just move the ball and go to the next play because I don't want to see it. I really don't. And like you said, they have 4 downs and they do it a lot, and it's just I'm over it. I mean, I know that they're not going to eliminate it, and they shouldn't, but I'm just over it.
Yeah, if it worked for everyone, I would be okay with eliminating it. But and where I thought it got really interesting was like you mentioned, Lisa, in the second half of last year, they started doing it on their own end of the field. It would be like 3rd and 3, and they'd run for 2 yards, maybe even do one tush push on 3rd down, and then they'd do it again on 4th down. And you couldn't stop it. And maybe that was creating some new excitement in a way where they had these 4 downs, and it gives such an advantage to be able to have the 4th down every time like that. I don't know how Philly wasn't able to use that more to their advantage. It'll also be interesting with Saquon Barkley back there. You have one of the most explosive running backs. Does he get some touches on 3rd down? I think
He's got to be in the game to get touches on 3rd down.
There was one time I think last year where Philly faked the tush push, right?
Yeah.
And gave it to Swift.
Yeah, they did it a couple of times.
Yeah, with Barkley, you could see a lot more of that coming, maybe.
I think the drama comes in, can someone actually stop it? I mean, now that Kelsey's gone and, the O-line is not the same, can someone actually stop it? And if they can, I hate to say the blueprint, but does someone, mimic that and does it work? I guess to me, that would be the drama as opposed to, are they actually going to get, they
Yeah.
always get the yardage.
And it's interesting, it hasn't shown up much in the college game either. You would think if this was something that could work, like there'd be some college team that's doing it all the time, for example,
Well, I think that's where I disagree with David because if everybody could do it, everybody would do it. And I think Kelsey was an integral part of that because of how low they got on the offensive line. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. And they need to get low so, so Jalen can get that push. And with him gone, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's going to be the same.
Yeah, yes and no. I think every team has that, 270-pound center. Not every team has the quarterback that can squat 1,000 pounds though, and I think that's what the difference is.
So why can't you put a running back there? This might be a dumb question, but
You'd probably fumble the snap though.
you don't think a running back is
hike it to Derrick Henry and let him tush push?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb is the biggest squatter That dude is crazy.
I mean, Chiefs tried it with tight ends. Obviously, tight ends aren't running backs and they're not Jalen, but ineffective.
Have you guys seen, this video is the real reason the tush push worked every time.
Opposing defenses may not be able to stop the tush push, but the referees sure can. The referees penalized Eagles center Jason Kelce for moving the ball a half yard prior to what would have surely been a tush push on a 3rd and 1 early in the second quarter. Kelce's attempted rules violation derailed the drive and the Eagles settled for 3 points instead of a potential 7.
This doesn't have the video of it.
20-17 loss to the Seahawks.
But basically,
They've been warning me of that for years. Kelce,
it is true, though. He was moving the ball.
When you only need this much, if you move it this much, pretty smooth, smooth.
I mean, that's what they teach the center to kind of, to get a few extra yards on that. So, I mean, maybe he was just, I haven't seen the video myself. Maybe he was just doing a little too egregiously.
Are they the most interesting team next year in your guys' minds? The Eagles? Like
No.
where they could go no? Okay.
Well,
Barkley, not to me. Not to me.
Barkley's the biggest catch, I would say, in free agency. So they've added the biggest name in free agency, but they're also a team that didn't make it out of the wild card round last year.
That was a big surprise. Were people expecting that or no?
By the end of the
They
year,
were falling
I think,
apart.
yeah, by the end of the year, I think it was becoming obvious. I mean, when they were 10-0, everyone thought they'd be heading to the Super Bowl or pretty far.
10-1, they lost to the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And McCall Hardman was allegedly giving out the playbook.
So what happened?
They just going into December after the Buffalo Bills game, they just fell apart. They were like 10-1, and I don't know what happened. It looked like they had us starting on the offense and defensive line. They had Greg as the head coach, me as the defensive coordinator. I think Lisa was playing quarterback.
Well, specifically in that Jets game, Hurts threw a pick 6 at the end of it that cost him the game. And they had some injuries. They fired their defensive coach in the middle of the year.
Yeah, that was bad. They moved him to the booth and had Matt Patricia start calling the plays, and it was just terrible.
That was crazy.
But I think Vic Fangio will turn that defense around because that is still a very talented team. Their defensive line might be the best in the league.
They're still soft on the in the D-backs, right? I didn't see anything recently. They're not they're a little soft on the
I mean,
If
those guys
Bradbury
were
is
fine the
playing.
year before. They went to the Super Bowl with Bradbury and CJ Gardner. You know, maybe they got a
Garner's-
year older, but I feel like they were getting they were the scapegoats. I mean, in the Tampa game, they were tackling terribly, but I think the whole team had kind of checked out by that point. But you know, they were fine with those guys. You know, if you look at their and AJ Brown was out for that game. He's their best player on offense. But yeah, this is their schedule from this year. You know, they started off 10-1 with just this loss to the Jets. They also just ran into, you know, 49ers, Cowboys. These are some bad losses. See, once they lost to the Cardinals and the Giants, the Ravens, you know, they were kind of pretty obvious that they were actually. I'm going the wrong direction here, right? Is this it? Regular
No,
season.
you're going the right direction. It was just showing the preseason after for some reason.
Oh, the preseason was
Because yeah, they fell off after that Bills game. That was like the big win, and everybody's like, "Oh, Jalen Hurts for MVP," and then he fell off the face of the earth after that.
yeah.
Well, the year before they were 1 seed, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
They were 15-1 the year
Crazy.
before.
So they got something.
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
but
see if they can
you
bounce
got to
back.
remember they lost their offensive coordinator. He went to become the coach of the Colts, and their defensive coordinator went to Arizona to become their head coach. Chris, I don't know if y'all saw, but during the Manning cast, they brought Christian McCaffrey on. And he was like, "Yeah, everybody knows what the Eagles are running," and he was able to call the play. And sure enough, he said they're going to run this, and they ran the play right then and there.
Crazy. We gotta do a March Madness or a conference tournament bracket, Greg. Changing the subject. I was excited for that, man.
Yeah, I looked online. I couldn't find anywhere that had that for us to play, but it's still we might just have to try to reconstruct it manually and go over the college basketball games. It was just way too much with NFL free agency today.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking about wanting to do something for the conference tournament, like with
Maybe just pick
brackets.
the winner.
Yeah, or the Final Four even. Yeah, I was looking at the ACC tournament because I follow them the most, and they have the weirdest tournament. They have like basically the bottom teams play tomorrow. I think 6 teams because they have 15 teams in the ACC. But so they have 6 teams play tomorrow. The top four teams like Duke and UNC don't play until Thursday. The bottom teams play tomorrow for a playing game. If they win, they all play on Wednesday. And then if whoever wins that, finally Duke and North Carolina and the top 4 start on Thursday. So it's like
I think that's how it is in a lot of conferences.
well, if you have 15 teams, you just give the number 1 team a bye and everyone plays the first week. I don't see why they got to make it so complicated with all these buys in there.
Makes sense.
But I feel like the conference tournaments, they don't want upsets. It makes them look bad. If it's not Duke versus Carolina, that's what's going to get the ratings. You know, if they don't want to see Notre Dame or some, upset Georgia Tech team making a run. So they're like making it really hard for those teams because they will have had to play before they even get to Duke. They'll be playing on their 3rd day in a row. Like they're going to be so tired. They don't play 3 days in a row all season.
Yeah.
And then if they do somehow upset Duke, they're sure not going to then, win the next 2 games.
There's always one team, man, that isn't even a tournament team that somehow wins it.
Yeah, that was
Like,
Georgetown a couple
major-
years back won the Big East that way.
Yeah.
That's why I think they're making it harder now. They don't want that. Did you guys see any of the games this weekend? I watched Caitlin Clark, and then I watched the Indiana State game with that guy with the glasses. Have you seen him? Oh, we got to pull him up, man. This guy is like a legend. Unfortunately, they lost. They were even ranked earlier this year, and like this guy is the darling. Like he was in the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, look at this kid. Let me share my screen here.
It's tough when you win your conference.
Look at this kid. He's like, he looks like a frat boy or a nerd. Like he's not athletic at all. And he was hitting threes. He was dropping passes. I'm telling you, he looked like Dirk Nowitzki out there. He's the conference player of the year. They were like 25 wins and 3 losses. Something crazy.
And they're not going to make the tournament, are they?
No, because they lost their conference tournament.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Everybody was like going to root for him. It would have been a sucker bet in the tournament because they would have for sure lost in the first round of the tournament. It's a funny looking kid, though. He's been a great story this
Nothing
year.
about him looks good.
Don't be so sure about Indiana State because they're ranked 43 on Ken Palm. And the tournament committee, they do take Ken Palm into account. So I mean, 28-6, that's not bad. They may get some considerations like a 10-11 seed somewhere.
And they have no quad 1 wins. That's supposed to be the kiss of death if you haven't played anybody good all year.
It's hard to make it, man.
If you don't play anybody, if you know,
Yeah.
nobody wants to play you. What's USF rated in there? Because that's my home team in Tampa. They have the same problem.
They're in a better
USF?
they're in the A10, right?
It's called like something different now, I think. It's not
Like
called.
they got Davidson and a few. Dayton is ranked. They got a few.
South Florida,
USF, yeah, University of Southern Florida.
Ken Palm, they're ranked 88.
Really? They're ranked lower than Indiana State. Look at their record, right? They haven't lost a game in like a month or two. But they just don't play anybody. And the conference sucks. Their conference is like, I don't think Dayton's in there. I think it's FAU. It's and FAU was good last year.
Yeah, they have the 157th strength of schedule. So I mean, they don't have that going for them.
Yeah, they beat FAU. That's like the only ranked team they beat all year. But I would think 1 win should be better than Indiana State's.
Well, Indiana State, their strength of schedule is like 126, so they've got that going for them also.
You know what's
over
crazy with
USF anyways.
that USF team? It's a bunch of transfer portals, and so they lost 3 out of their first 5 games. They had bad losses to like Maine and like University of Vermont or something, like schools that are not ranked. But it was so early in the year they hadn't figured out their lineups yet. And now they've been on a groove and they've won like 25 out of 27 games. So I'm hoping that the committee will take that into account, or they'll just have to win their conference tournament.
They were ranked 5 days ago. So they were ranked number 24.
Yeah, so it'd be a long fall if you're not ranked to not make it. But Indiana State was ranked this year too. Let's check in on our game here. It's right at 11. Pretty close in terms of covering.
I've been doing some research. My team is James Madison. I think they're gonna get a few wins. They're gonna be like an 11 or 12 seed, I think. And I think they got some potential.
Yeah, James Madison. Interesting.
Yep.
The ESPN
Depends on the
expert,
girl.
Joe Lunardi, who does all the bracketology, he has them ranked as an 11 seed, and he estimates that they'll play in one of the first 4 games.
USF?
Indiana State.
Oh, Indiana State. Interesting. Well, that'll be good for ratings. That kid's getting a lot of publicity.
And one of those lately, those first 4 teams have been making runs. I think was Florida Atlantic a first 4 team last year? No, I think
No.
Arizona State was a first 4 team. I think they made the Sweet 16 last year.
Here's another one. It's happened like 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah, that messes up all the brackets too, because usually you give people until Thursday at noon to pick, but those games are already kind of played by then.
Yep.
But then if they're gonna go on to win beyond that, you kind of have to have
And
picked
then
them.
VCU was the first 4 team, and they made it all the way to the Final 4. That first year that they did it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what it was. Thanks.
That was Shaka Smart, right?
Mhm. I did not know UCF is like one of the biggest colleges in the US, which I did not know. It's huge, man.
Yeah, UCF in Orlando is like right after Michigan, I think.
Yeah, I thought they could create
Ohio
a
State. No, Ohio State's the biggest, right?
thought they could create a better football team with all those players, but guess
We
not.
talking about stadium?
No, like students.
Okay, yeah, I'm unaware.
They had some years where they went undefeated, but they were in a bad conference. They don't have any sports history.
Hmm.
They had that
The
team,
year the
they had a
year they went
basketball
under
team that played against Zion. Remember that team with Taco Fall?
Taco. They could have won that
yeah.
game. What were you gonna say, Jeremiah?
The year UCF went undefeated, they beat Auburn in that bowl game, who had previously beaten Alabama, who won the national title. That's why they put that banner up.
Was that before the BCS stuff or the
I
playoffs?
thought that was the year Clemson beat Alabama.
I thought Alabama won the national title that year, but had lost to Auburn in the regular season.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but
I
I
could
think
be
that was
wrong, David.
I think that was Bo Nix's freshman year, and he I remember him beating Alabama once before he
I,
transferred.
I do gotta ask you guys this. Do we like the 18 playoffs? Or is it too much?
Isn't it 12?
Is it 12 now?
Yeah,
Oh,
they changed it to 12 and they're already trying to change it to 14.
oh,
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. I think that 8 is the perfect number, Will. I like 8
Yeah.
would be in the number. I think 12's too much.
They do, you want to give the teams the top teams like a bye in some way, though, don't you? Or not really?
Now, let's
No.
watch games. 8 teams, let's get it done.
What do you guys think, Greg and David?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The playoffs, adding a lot more teams to it.
This is one of my hot takes a few days ago. I hate playoff expansion. I think it's the stupidest thing.
And I do
I
too.
think it takes away from the value of the regular season. And all sports have done it. The March Madness did it. They're talking about adding more to the March Madness. The MLB postseason did it. The NFL postseason did it. The NBA added the play-in. The one thing that was acceptable was expanding the playoffs in college football, and I thought 8 would be the perfect number. But no, you want to do 4, and now 4 is not good enough, so you want to do 12, and you haven't even done 12 yet, and it's already not good enough. You want to do 14? Oh my God, I'm losing
The
it
regular
thinking about
season
it.
doesn't even matter anymore, man. It really doesn't.
And you know what the worst part is? The SEC and the Big Ten, they want 3 automatic bids. I'm all for the champions getting automatic bids. That's fine. You're getting a group of 5 team to get an automatic bid, but 3 automatic bids for the SEC and Big Ten, that's stupid.
They
Let
better
them.
not do that.
It won't be automatic. I think that's stupid. I agree, but I feel that the SEC will typically get 3 teams in.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And
Yeah.
they're threatening to leave and start their own playoffs if they don't get what they want. Like they could literally put the whole NCAA out of business if the SEC and the Big Ten decide to team up and like, okay, we're not going to be in the NCAAs anymore. Like that's like could be huge. It might not be a bad thing.
That's
Yeah.
why it's hard to follow college football just because of all the politics behind it. It just I was so happy they got rid of the BCS, and then for a lot of these teams to be screwed, like Florida State, the way they got screwed this year.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, they were going to get slaughtered whoever they played, but they deserve to be in the Final Four.
Who would have you taken out then, David?
Bama.
Texas.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate in favor of it, and here's what I think is the case for it. Is what I really hate in college football is when the teams play the patsies. Like, there's no reason for Alabama to be playing UAB or, where these schools just beat up on other teams. But the problem with the system now is if you lose one game, you're out. If you lose two games, you're definitely out. There's never been a champion with 2 games. So they have to schedule those cream puff games. So if we expand the playoffs and as a trade-off, get rid of the cream puff games and have just like more in-conference games or more quality games, then overall, I think it's worth it. And it brings the quality of college football up and gets rid of those games where it's just like 80 to 10, like that can't be fun for anybody on any of those teams, but you can't risk it, right? You can't risk if you schedule all tough games, you might not make the playoffs the way it is now with so few teams. So that's, I think, the biggest argument. But if they keep those blowout games and expand the playoffs, now there's no point to it because they're still going to have the same problem. They're still going to say, well, if we schedule too hard a season, we might not make the top 12, right? So my fear is they're going to keep those blowout games and expand the playoffs. And now you're just kind of making the regular season not count. I mean, the thrill of college football kind of is that the whole regular season is the playoffs in a way. Because if you lose one game, you're out. Like every week matters, is what makes it so exciting.
Mm-hmm. I'm just glad Michigan's not going to make the playoffs for the next few years. That's all I care about.
We'll see about that. We'll go blue.
They're not going to be good next year, man. I can't even name a player on their team. Donovan Edwards, that's it. And then they got a QB who's like a big.
Hey, that coach stepped in, did a great job at the beginning and the end of the regular season for Harbaugh. And I don't know. I think Ohio State's a little overrated up there in Columbus.
It is going to be interesting having to play Oregon and Texas, though. That's kind of a big thing.
So it was Oregon USC. Texas went to the SEC, correct?
I don't know. Did Texas go to SEC?
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, they went to the SEC.
Interesting.
I think Michigan plays Washington next year. I think it'll be like a playoff rematch.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Greg. Other than I think those small teams get a lot of money for those big games, don't they? Or not really?
I don't know.
I thought they paid a lot for maybe not.
Yeah, they get paid a lot to get beat up on by the Alabamas and Georgias and Texas and whatnot.
Unless you're Michigan and you invite Appalachian State.
Hey, Appalachian State, they took UNC to overtime. I watched that game this year. I couldn't believe UNC almost lost that game.
I know to respect that team now.
And Drake May's supposed to be this hero. He can't be.
Drake May's another Trubisky. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
What do we think about Bama? Are they going to go through a huge turnover, or do you think they're still going to be good? They're the big question mark, I think, in college football.
They'll still be one of the most talented teams. Now, what DeBoer is going to do at Alabama, I don't know. If I were to bet today, I would bet on Georgia to win the Natty.
They lost like half their team, though, didn't they?
They always do.
Yeah, they always do.
They don't lose this many to transfers, though.
They don't rebuild there; they reload.
Yeah.
I think that one of the most interesting things in college football that happened recently is Chip Kelly taking the Ohio State offensive coordinator game. He got job. He's saying he's stepping down from being a head coach to go be a coordinator, saying that I don't want to be a CEO. Like that's what the head coach has become. You got to deal with kids asking for money and playing time, and I just want to coach kids. And
didn't they hire someone
scary if that's the trend. If that's if coaches stop being the head coach, It's almost like they need a general manager or something, right? Like a GM of these teams.
They hired someone like 3 days before him too, didn't they? Yeah, Bill
They
O'Brien.
had hired Bill Butchin O'Brien, but then the Boston College coach went to be the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. So they hired the Butchin at BC.
So he might not even call plays, Greg. Or Ryan Day, which I cannot stand the guy. He's the one who might actually call the plays. Like, I don't even know what the offensive coordinator does. He doesn't run the offense.
I don't think you bring in somebody like Chip Kelly, and then don't let him call the plays.
We'll see. Urban might want to finally give it up. He ran it before.
Why do you not like Ryan Day? I mean, I dislike Ohio State, so I don't like him. But I mean, the guy's only lost to Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban. I mean, he's lost very few times. The guy seems to be a really good coach.
I don't care. I don't care. I mean, it's championships or bust, you know? And like, we beat Michigan for like 20 straight years or something, like give or take around 20 years. And Ryan Day is the first coach we've had in 20 years that actually loses to Michigan, you know, and that's a big deal.
But is that more about Harbaugh or is it Ryan Day letting things?
Harbaugh couldn't beat Urban. So
Harbaugh was also just getting started at Michigan there after his tenure in San Francisco. He had to build a program, and I think he'd beat Urban Meyer had he had the time.
Yeah, he came close a lot, but I don't know. I don't like how Ryan Day handled the quarterback situation either. I don't think we had a good quarterback.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I'm not sure if it's something that y'all are, really caring about, but Tyrod Taylor just signed with the New York Jets.
That's good. They
have a backup quarterback.
Yes, they have a backup now.
This is the year we figured out that, Jeremiah, because Ohio State they have so many quarterbacks right now. I don't even know who the starter is going to be.
Yeah, y'all starter just transferred to Syracuse, no?
Yeah, I would have been fine if he got cut. He's trash. They got a lot of guys now, though. Anyone who watched Ohio State could tell Kyle McCord was not good. Yeah, but they got
he won a lot of games.
Quarterbacks who could start. So it's going to be interesting to see which one they pick.
Yeah, you could have had who's the kid that transferred out to Texas?
Ewers.
He stayed there, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, he left Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Burrow left Ohio State to go to LSU. They seem to make that mistake pretty frequently.
Yeah. It's a coach, man.
Well, no, when Ewers was first there, it was he was competing with CJ Stroud.
Oh, yeah. And he's a Texas guy, man. That was more so he just didn't want to. Burrow, it was because he couldn't play. I think Ewers just wanted to go to Texas.
Boy.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if if Ewers going to be a pro prospect or not. Yeah, I think he's messed up not coming out this year. I think he would have been a late first round pick if he came out this year because they had such a good season. But I look at all the players they lost or are losing in this year's draft. So both the receivers are projected as first round picks. Xavier Worthy, who broke the 40-yard dash, and A.D. Mitchell, who's slotted ahead of him. They're both first round picks. The running back is this guy the Cowboys are keying in on, is be probably a first or second round pick. Their tight end is the top rated tight end in the offense. And then they have some old linemen in their first round prospects. Like that Texas team was just loaded.
And they're two defensive linemen as well. Tavondre Sweat and Malik Murphy, I think his name is.
Is Manning going to sit in the wing again, or do you think he's fine?
Yeah, he's going to sit.
Yep.
Do you guys respect that?
He's getting paid a lot of money.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can't suck if you don't play. So
he's the highest paid player in NIL, right? I think, at least in football, maybe not
Probably.
basketball.
Him or one of the Colorado guys.
I thought it was Caleb, but now
I think it's Bronny James and then Arch and Caitlin.
That Colorado Sanders or Hunter were probably up there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure Shadur Sanders is up there somewhere.
Yeah, I watched the Caitlin Clark game. She only had 4 points at the half against Nebraska, who was the number 5 seed in their conference tournament championship game. And then she had like 30 points in the second half, and the game went to overtime, and she won the game for them.
That's a
Did you
lot
see
of fun
the
to
fight?
watch.
Did you see the fight, Greg? That was in the news. The big LSU South Carolina fight.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anything about I mean, I saw the headline, but I didn't see it.
Wasn't
I
that
wouldn't
bad?
really call it a fight. I would say two girls or one girl just got pushed to the ground after she had already shoved two other girls.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
And the I guess the brother, one of the brothers had jumped onto the
Yep.
court. That
Hey,
was
I
stupid.
thought the worst look was Angel Reese walking away, not even being a teammate. I mean, I get maybe not wanting to be suspended or something, but as soon as the brawl breaks out, she like walks away. I wouldn't want that in a teammate.
Mhm.
I thought the worst part was Kim Mulkey after the game was like, I wish you would have pushed Angel Reese, see what would have happened. It's like, come on.
That was
like
uncalled for. You're right.
like really? Like you can't be the coach saying things like that.
Well, she's always known to be controversial, right? Isn't she trying to stir the pot?
Yeah, I don't think that 12 and a half for the Blazers is going to hit tonight. They're down 20 with a buck 54.
What's the best way for us to do a fantasy draft, Greg? Like a real one. What's the best website and stuff? I've always done Yahoo. It's probably not the best though.
I mean, Yahoo's all right. We could use Yahoo. The thing with I really only like to do drafts with at least 12 teams.
Mm-hmm.
You can do 10, you can also do 14, but 12's like the most common,
I thought
especially
10 was the normal. 12 is?
uh,
Okay.
12's pretty. I mean, the 10 is like all of a sudden everyone has all stars, right? It's more of like it's easier and more of like more luck to it, in my opinion. So the thing is, if we want to do mock drafts and use Yahoo, we have to have 12 people, or like we'd have to have like each of us have 3 Yahoo emails, and like it can be a little pain in the ass, like hopping through them from time to time. Right. So that's something we have to consider if we're going to get to 12, right? If we the last one we did, I was on a spreadsheet, that can work for now. That's why I was thinking if we went on Underdog, they have people hopping in the leagues, and then we can go in and we can add some of those people in. And but then we don't have Underdog everywhere. So that's part of it. Yahoo does have mock drafts too. I'll have to look into those. Like maybe we could all get into one, and then it could fill up with other just random people that are on Yahoo. That could do. But then with the Yahoo mock leagues, they don't actually play them out. They don't usually save those.
No, I was talking like a live draft.
A live draft where it actually plays out.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
When are those not going on yet?
Oh, they are. Yeah, all those ones I showed you on Underdog are theirs. But so either you have to play somewhere that has people, or you have to have enough people.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's partly, I mean, I'm to get your guys' feedback on this. Like we could get more people to come on to Zoom, and then we'd have enough people to do a draft with one person each. But if we have 12 people on Zoom, like it can be a little chaotic, like harder to get a word in. It can kind of impact the quality of the show too.
If we made the show exclusively for the draft, it would be just that. I understand that having that many people on, people can start talking over one another. But if we decide collectively to speak only when we, let you host the show and then speak collectively when, when I draft, I'll speak, etc. Will speaks when he
Yeah.
drafts. Take turns. I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt anyone as well.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. I like that actually. Just have each person make your pick and explain your pick type of
Yep.
thing. That could work, yeah. Because the other problem with Underdog is like it's 30 seconds per pick. So it's like we're forcing people to talk really fast. And like, what if I'm still talking and it's your turn to pick and I'm using your time? But if we just use like Yahoo and have 12 people on, then yeah, then and have each person talk when it's their turn and maybe just give a 1 minute timer or, I think that could work. Yeah, our game
We could also
yeah, go ahead.
we could also even do it offline, make a spreadsheet, do it that way, and then input the draft later. That's how I do one of the leagues here at home. We'll have a draft here at my house, and then later that night or the next day I'll put the teams in for everyone. So we could do
Yeah.
it.
Although, I mean,
retroactively
one of
put
the
teams
main
in.
points for me of using the website would be like to have something visual that the audience can see and like you can see which players are left instead of us having to just do that in a spreadsheet and then upload it manually. Yeah, but those are all good ideas. Does anybody else have anything before we wrap up for tonight? So, all right, well, cool. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back on tomorrow at 8. We won't be doing the double header again. But as Friday's late game did so good, I wanted to kind of see how tonight's game went. Granted, this was kind of a lackluster game on a Monday night. I think that's probably part of it. Like Friday nights, maybe there's more people watching sports. It was interesting. I wanted to do this Monday through Friday and have the weekends off, but maybe we're going to find that Friday, Saturday, Sunday is kind of prime time for things. We're just going to keep testing different things. But the plan is the rest of this week we'll be on 8 to 10 or starting at 8 and until whenever, until Friday. And then Friday, we're going to do the late game again. We'll probably do a doubleheader. And then we'll probably, if that goes good, Saturday will be conference championship games. We'll probably do those. And then Sunday will be selection Sunday. So we'll be on for that at 6, I think is when that is. So cool, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Appreciate y'all.
What time are we
Good night,
on
fellas.
tomorrow?